There we go. Alright, so earlier today we had a look and there's gonna be a new map. I have not looked at the new map yet and I have not tried out the PTS changes, so I'm not exactly sure how well the balance changes are working at the moment. But just based on the info that's gonna be here, you know, all this, I'll give some feedback, some thoughts on what I think it's gonna be like. But like I said, I have not played it yet, so I'm not exactly sure whether it's going the right direction or it still needs some tweaking, stuff like that. We'll see. Eventually I'll try it out and then you'll see what my opinion is after I actually had experience with the changes. But for now, without any knowledge, let's just read through it and see what I think. Alright, so starters. Anarchy is gonna have reduced speed boost during adrenaline use, and it's gonna be from 20% to 10%. Personally, I would have preferred if they got rid of Anarchy's speed boost altogether. In my opinion, he's fast enough as he is. Like, even without injection, he's hard to hit anyway, and he's fast, and he has like a weird hitbox with his board, you know. So I would just get rid of his speed boost altogether. It's enough that he gets the plus 50 health as an ability, but we'll see. I have not tried the changes, so maybe it is actually better this way, I don't know. Athena, reduced number of grapple charges from 3 to 2. Thank fuck for that. I've been asking for this change for, well, ever since Athena is in the meta, so probably over 2 years now. I'm looking forward to this change. I've been always annoyed by how many hooks she had, because it was just so annoying, impossible to predict and anticipate for any of her moves, because she always had like a backup hook, grapple, whatever you call it, and then even if you knew that she's gonna come from a certain direction, she could just use a hook and immediately mess things up. And on top of that, she could also swing with the hook. So it's not just like a she throws it out in one direction and then you can like kind of read into the trajectory. Nope, she can even swing with that shit. So I'm very happy that they finally reduced the number of grapples she has. But we'll see if it actually works better or not. And then this delay, not sure if it was necessary. I think this is probably enough, otherwise she might get too nerfed. This passive, the stockpile passive that Keel also has, again, I'm not sure why it was necessary, but sure. Alright, increased damage that can be sustained before breaking the rope from 50 to 100. So even if she gets railed, the rope won't break anymore, which was the case before. Interesting. That might be annoying to deal against. But still, I'm just happy about this one thing. And then collision knockback reduced from 100 to 50. Yeah, I don't even know why she has knockback to begin with when she bonks into you with the hook. Like, that was just a stupid mechanic, and it still is, but at least it got reduced. Alright, BJ increased rate of fire of dual wield tribot and rocket launcher. Yeah, he was kinda weak after he was nerfed. Because initially, when he was in the meta like years and years ago, he was a little bit too OP with the fire rate when he was dual wielding, but after he got nerfed, it was a little bit too much of a nerf, and since then, no one really uses dual wield tribot or rocket launcher. Everyone just goes for machine gun and LG, and you know, otherwise the dual wield wasn't really worth it because the rate of fire was just so slow. Might as well not use ability and save it up for a better situation. But yeah, I guess I'm just hoping it's not too fast now. But again, I have not tried it out, so it might be the, you know, the right amount of increase. And then reduce the size of his upper and lower arm hitboxes. Okay. Clutch, reduce the volume of the first person jump and dodge sound effects. I'm happy about that. He didn't get nerfed for once, yay. And also, it is a little bit loud when you jump around as Clutch all those noises of him hippity hoppity around, you know. So being able to hear better while you are moving around with clutch is actually nice. And then Death Knight, I think this is the way it was before QuakeCon, I think, or maybe after QuakeCon. Basically he got reverted back to the way the Flame Strike worked. And yeah, back then Death Knight was more usable and more reliable with his ability. Alright, Berserk, Doomslayer. Allow the Berserk to be cancelled after 2 seconds of activation. This is actually something that I'm happy about, because similarly to Scalebearer, it's nice to be able to cancel your ability, because very often you just run around in Berserk and being like an easy to hit target, well, not necessarily easy to hit target, but like you are being out in the open and you kind of want to fight back already, but you're just waiting for the Berserk to end so that you have your weapons back finally. So I'm happy about this change, because you can still use the Berserk the same way as before, but in case things go wrong or things don't go the way you were planning for them to, you can cancel it and then just correct yourself. So that's good. But also, why not just also reduce the volume, like with Clutch's movement? Why not just reduce the volume of being in Berserk? Because that shit is loud and you cannot hear where your opponent is going to. So there is a good chance you're actually gonna run away from him back into him, you know? He's gonna like cut you off or something. If you could hear him during the Berserk usage, that would be actually really good. So I'm not sure why that didn't get adjusted. I'm hoping it might still will be eventually. But even just this, you know, is a nice change at least. And then Eisen reduced turret deploy time from 2 seconds to 1 second. I am not necessarily indifferent about it. I don't often play Eisen, but when I play Eisen it felt like as if it's like kind of a weird ability in a way that unless you set it up before a fight, the turret is not really gonna do much. So it's kind of like a wasted ability, because when you throw it down, it takes a while until it gets activated, and even then, once he is activated, but he's facing away from the enemy, you're gonna have to wait until the turret turns towards the enemy and starts shooting him. And then during that whole time, the turret is useless. So unless you have it prepped up prior to the fight, the turret is not really gonna be that much of an obstacle for your opponent. So this deploy time buff is actually nice, because now it's not like a either the turret is garbage or it's OP situation. It's more like balanced, you know. Also, the turret turn speed is increased, which is, you know, similarly to what I explained just now, is a nice change, but I'm just hoping the turret won't be too OP. I am happy with these changes, but I'm curious if the turret is too strong now, in a way that maybe it has too much health. We'll see, because if, you know, it's nice that you can throw it down and it sets up fast and starts shooting at your opponent fast, but it still has 120 health. So maybe that also needs some adjustment in a way of reducing the health from 120 to maybe 100 or maybe 110, I don't know. But, you know, these changes are, in my opinion, are the right things, but maybe needs some more tweaking with the health. And then Keel, reduced number of grenade charges from 5 to 3. Also something I have been saying for a long time, because he could just spam nades at all times, and so many of them, and it was impossible to dodge everything, like all his nades and the rockets and whatever else. So now, instead of just brainlessly spamming the shit out of grenades, he actually has to think about when to use them and how to use them. So that's also a nice change, because I feel like before these changes, many of the abilities and champions were too OP in a way that brain power wasn't necessarily required so much. Instead, just, you know, being the right champion with the ability ready was like more favorable. So I think now the game is probably going more towards the direction of you actually having to be skillful and thoughtful of what you're gonna do and how you're gonna execute it, whereas before it was more of a random bullshit mess, you know. So I am happy about these changes, but I still think some of these things will require some adjustment still, but we'll see. I have already discussed my opinion on Athena, so if you're interested, just go back in the VOD a few minutes before now and you'll see. Alright, moving on. But let's keep reading Keel. Cooldown between shooting grenades from 400 to 800. Not sure if that was necessary, because now it's like, am I gonna spam nades or am I gonna fire, but not like an in-between mixture of the grenade and spam and grenade, because this nerf alone I think would have been enough. Why was this also necessary? I just think it makes grenades kind of obsolete in most situations. Movement speed increase to match medium champion movement speed. Would have been useful against Keelsen on Sarnet in the grand final at QuakeCon. Oh well. Increase the cooldown reduction of the stockpile passive from 5% to 10. Meh. Whatever. Reduced Ghost Vault telefrag damage from 125 to 100 bit nicks. I still think it's too much still. I would have preferred for them to reduce it to like 50 or 75. I don't think the Ghost Walk should be used as a weapon, you know, in a way that you shouldn't really go for telefrags with it. I feel like the Ghost Walk is useful as is already. You can get away, you can steal items, you can surprise your opponent. It's just, why also leave the damage of the telefrag so high? It's like so many things you can use it for, and it's just, I don't think it should be used for killing. And if it does deal 50 damage, because fair enough, yeah, it should deal some damage, but why this much? I think it's just too much. I feel like if it's lower than that, then you can still use it to surprise your opponent and try to go for like a point blank shotgun and maybe even do that telefrag damage. But if you're gonna use the Ghost Fog for attacking anyway, this is way too fucking much still. Same with the orb, I hate the fucking thing. Yeah, they reduced it, you know, by 25, but again, this is still way too fucking much. And most people use Ranger, his Dire Orb, as a weapon, you know. Even I do, of course, everyone does, because that's why it's so fucking powerful. If the orb wasn't dealing this much damage, then people all of a sudden either wouldn't be Ranger so much, or because they are mostly just Ranger because it's OP as fuck, or they would start thinking about how to use the Dire Orb and use it for positioning, for misdirection, for distraction, you know, for stealing items. Whereas nowadays everyone, like, out of 10 orb usages, people use it 8 times to deal damage, or to go for like a telefrag, or do the classic point blank shotgun combo with it and shit like that. It's just, I don't think it's skillful. I look down on this mechanic. It's ridiculous, it's stupid, it shouldn't be so OP. If it was reduced to a proper amount of dealing damage but not being completely useless, then I would be more happy about it and would be happy to play against Rangers, and I would also be more willing to play as Ranger and use the orb in like smarter ways. Not just this bullshit close range telefrag, stupid, you know, abusing the ability being OP shit. It's not fun to do that, and it's not fun to be done when people do it against you. I don't like it at all. I don't know why it wasn't properly reduced. Same with the Ghost Walk, but the Ghost Walk at least is not that often, you know. It should be, the orb should be used for getting from A to B, but not for dealing damage while you are teleporting. Or even if the orb is not used to get from A to B, at least it should be used as a distraction, as a misdirection. Am I gonna teleport to it? Are you gonna look that way? I just noticed this. Hello. So yeah, it's just, in my opinion, it still does way too much damage, and people will keep using it to deal damage instead of actually thinking about smart ways to use it and being tactical and skillful about it. And I just despise the way it is and the way it is gonna be still, even after this nerf slightly reduced damage. Alright, slash reduce speed boost during plasma trail use. Again, same with Anarchy, I would just completely get rid of the speed boost. She is fast enough as is, and I don't understand why it's necessary to make her even faster than her base movement when we could just get rid of her speed boost and instead just keep the plasma trail as a escape tool, or like a prevent your opponent from coming through tool. You know, it would be more than enough to have that ability for that, instead of this I'm gonna go Sonic mode, you know. Also, they didn't fix, or at least it's not mentioned, they didn't fix when Slash uses the plasma trail and bumps into you, you get launched up in the air for no fucking reason. So either they fixed it and didn't mention it, or that shit is still in the game and I hate it. Sorely reduce the size of her head, arm and leg hitboxes. Okay, maybe she's gonna be more viable now. And Strogg reduce Troy and healing from 25 to 20. Or maybe you could have just gotten rid of it. He has the peeker, he has the crowd slide. Why also have Stroyant? Oh well. Anyway, they're gonna start their match, so let's go watch it. Overall, most of the changes are nice, like the game is going the right direction, but I feel like it's still just, they could have done more and better, in my opinion.